Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is In The Game Kaya, and alongside me, as always, my brother, Super Shadow 515. Say hi for the first time in like 5 years.
Hi for the first time in 5 years, at least on this channel, anyways.
Yeah. Also, yes, I still have a voice. I know you may not have known this because I haven't posted anything in however long it's been. I'm not gonna check. It's just been a while. I posted Legacy Edition content, but anyways, before we talk about that, because we'll have a little bit of spare time as this goes on, let's just talk about this. We're playing Sonic Riders today, specifically Sonic Riders TE. We play both mods. Today we're playing TE because TE just got an update. 2.2. And we warmed up before we went into this, so we're doing every single track.
So how we're going to do this, of course, this is already pre-recorded. We're doing post-commentary. Yeah. And that video's already been edited together. We know how this race ends. Yeah. So what we ended up doing is we did a character lock. He chose Metal Sonic. I chose II.
I practiced with Jet and chose Metal Sonic. Yeah, that makes sense.
I just chose II because that's a character I'm very familiar with. I like high boosters, so I chose II. But we can change gears between different tracks. And then all the loading time and time in the menu and all that is cut out, so it's just straight from race to race at the same point every time, and whoever finishes Sega Illusion first wins.
Yeah, so I did decide to just use the audio from my run instead of, because we both have music going, and so I didn't want to maybe crossfade from one guy to the next or whoever was in the lead. But anyways, so yeah, we're going to be racing through every single track, including Babylon Guardian.
I think that's going to be a one-time thing. If we do this again, we're not going to do that again.
It's really not worth it. It's just...
it's the Gravity Cannon Special!
Apologies to NASCAR fans, but it is the NASCAR track. There's probably some depth to it somewhere. It just... it's a circle. It's just a circle. It's really nothing. But I was gonna cut some of this intro, but we filled it up already. So hey, I hope you guys are ready because it looks like we are going. So let's I guess talk a little bit about Sonic Riders in general. Like, we've been playing this game since it came out, right?
I think so. We used to play this all the time, and we're 5 seconds in, literally, and I've already made a mistake.
Yep.
Solid start.
Get used to it.
Oh yeah, well, you'll see. Anyways, yeah, we used to play Sonic Riders all the time. Only the first one. Like, I went back later and played, see, I can't even remember what it's called.
Zero Gravity.
Zero Gravity. I went back later and played Zero Gravity, and I just didn't like it as much as the original.
Well, I played Zero Gravity after I had played Free Riders. Because I remember we played Free Riders too. Of course, we had an Xbox 360, which is part of the reason we didn't play Zero Gravity, is because we had a 360 at that time. But yeah, we played Sonic Riders all the time back when it came out. Even after we'd 100%ed everything.
And it was always Sonic versus Jet. I was Sonic, he was Jet. Always, every time, without fail.
Almost
every time. That's true. You'd occasionally use Shadow with Accelerator.
Yeah, I didn't like the fact that Shadow didn't have a default gear.
So you made Accelerator his default gear.
Pretty much. That was the plan.
So I feel like we should point out a couple of the tricks that we're using to anybody that might not be familiar. For example, people that might have played Sonic Riders before, but never the modded version, especially the latest version, might have noticed that at the end of the last lap, I landed on my head and still landed the trick. For any Smash Bros. Players out there, L-canceling is in this game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Within like 3 frames of landing, even if you're going to land on your head, I think I do it again right here. Yeah, well, maybe. But I did it right there. Anyways, you can, within like 3 frames of landing, you can press one of the drift buttons. I usually press L.
I like riding off of this ramp at the start. It's so fun.
And land the trick anyways, even if you're going to land on your head. I always go for the trick. I think that's a holdover from previous runs where I wanted the air. But at this point, I can do S rank tricks, which gives me more speed, and then boost chain out of it.
Yeah. Boost chaining is a technique that exists in vanilla riders, I think. I'm pretty sure it exists in vanilla riders. If you boost while drifting, I'm not talking about doing a drift boost, I'm talking about using the B button boost. If you boost while drifting, it multiplies your speed instead of setting your speed to a specific speed. So sometimes it's slower, but a lot of times it is faster, especially with these modified gears that they use in this mode.
The best way to use it is to boost and then charge a drift boost. And then right as your regular boost ends, you release the drift boost because that is also a speed multiplier. And then you start another drift and immediately boost again.
Yeah.
And so you're multiplying boosts on top of each other.
Yeah, I notice you don't always land that L cancel. You might want to back off of those next time we do this.
That specifically was really giving me trouble with the L cancels. In Metal City, I was nailing my L cancels.
I didn't go for a single one of them in my run because I knew that it was a technique I didn't really want to practice. I'm not good at it in Smash Bros. Anyway, and that kind of precision is not usually my forte. So I just decided to just try and raise my floor as high as possible when I race this.
Yeah.
Which is why I used fastest for like 80% of this run.
Yeah, so I started with Crazy Taxi, which is a ring-based gear that if you drift, you gain rings. So that's why I was drifting everywhere. And then I switched to Hang On for this and Red Canyon, I think both. And I forgot to change gears because with the latest version, you use the D-pad to change gears, or change levels, I should say. They call it gears like in a transmission. So yeah, you can start the race in level 3, but have very few rings and burn through them quickly. Except I was at 99 rings in level 1 for like the first half of the lap.
You're still ahead of me. It can't be that bad. This the thing about fastest is it's not, despite the name, the fastest gear. I mean, if you're not boosting or drifting, sure, it's the fastest gear, but it has a super cruise function that is kind of like a toggleable pseudo boost, and it's just really easy to string together a halfway decent time with it. And
so a very high floor gear.
It's a very high floor gear. There's probably some tech with it that I don't completely understand. Of course, we speedrun the game for a couple of weeks and put times on every tracks, on each of the tracks, just for a week or two after a new version releases between TE and DX. So we have plenty of experience between the two versions, but that also means that we're not, because we don't play all the time and on a regular basis, our skills are still a little raw. Like, we definitely have some skill.
I mean, I'm missing item bubbles on the reg over here, so I think that just goes to show our level of skill.
We've set really solid times too, but that's after, resetting over and over.
I mean, in one version, I can't even remember which mod it was, but in one mod, I spent like an hour and a half straight trying to make, and then another hour and a half trying to repeat what was actually at the time a world record time on Sand Ruins.
It was...
But I got the footage, compiled the video, and never posted it. And then that time was beat later anyway, so it's like, well, why bother?
By the time he was getting around to uploading it, it had already been beaten. It was no longer the world record, so at that point...
So, I used Supersonic, and somebody else used II on some gear, High Booster maybe? And beat it. I can't remember what
it was. A Sand Ruins time, too.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent run, too, but again, like, I suffer from Tony Hawk-itis. I must have the perfect run, and so I constantly reset and just focus on resetting to eliminate mistakes instead of getting better to eliminate mistakes, if that makes any sense. Another thing that's unique to TE is momentum jumping off of rails, which you can use to perform a shortcut, and I missed it on lap 2. I was going to bring that up, and then I forgot that I missed that shortcut. But yeah, you can jump off of one rail and across the hairpin and then link it onto a rail on the other side of the hairpin and go snap the other direction. It's a lot of fun to do. There's a really, really easy rail skip on this track that's straight up banned. You're not allowed to use it. We don't always follow the official rules because we keep our own spreadsheet of times anyway, so...
But we did follow official rules for this one.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge anyway. I looked up the official skip guide to see if there was anything we would do.
Yeah, well, basically the official skip guide, at least what I saw, basically just said shortcut can't give you a more than 5-second advantage from other types. That can't use it.
Oh, this track.
I will have you know, I usually put up really good times on this track. And I had a really good run on this track with one exception. And it was the same exception for both of us. This section right here. So you can turn hard right and skip that entire corner and fall straight to the fan. If you do it right.
Yeah.
We both missed every single one.
It's not even like a super hard trick. It's a little precise, but it's the kind of thing that somebody who saw the trick online could pull it off within 2 or 3 attempts. It's not that hard to do.
I'll tell you, in previous versions, even when I first started practicing before this run, I was doing it basically every time. But as I practiced, I got worse and worse at doing it. And then in the run, I'm joking. I was getting mad at myself because I just could not do it.
I did it just fine in our practice, in our warm-ups, which, by the way, I overwrote all of my saves with my warm-up times, all of my ghosts with my warm-up times. Like I said, I was warming up with Jet, so you can tell how much better I'm doing against my warm-up by seeing how much better I am than my ghost. I don't know if you did the same thing or not.
Yeah, for the most part. The last couple of tracks, because I did play through every track. The last couple of tracks, I didn't save it for some reason, but I think up through, through the Babylon tracks, all the way up until Digital Dimension, I had save times.
Honestly, I think this might be for non-power types, I think this might be the hardest track in the game. It's a lot of really sharp corners, there's a lot of obstacles, air management is difficult.
That's true. Power type does get a bit of a boost. And it's not like you need the extra air from the rail in the start because there's air bubble taking the lower path if you don't take the rail.
And then Ice Factory, which you're just starting now as I finish my time. Ice Factory is hard too if you don't use default gear just because of the ice.
Yeah. Having the ability for not being affected by ice just by using default gear is really nice.
And that mechanic is unique to T, if you guys haven't played T. The default gear being immune to ice, anyway. Which, another really underrated aspect of default gear is the fact that when you charge a jump, it doesn't lose speed. I like that.
There are a few gears that do that, though.
Fastest does that.
Of course it does.
Yeah, of course it does.
I must say, I don't know about... I can't remember you, because I know we watched this through before. We both had really good Ice Factory times, if I remember right.
Yeah, nothing insane, but just like really
especially after Egg Factory, how much of a pain it was for both of us. It was quite the turnaround.
It was a good reset track, too.
Yeah.
With Ice Factory as a speed character, the key is just don't miss this rail. Really.
Because even if you miss the upper path here, which you do on the third lap, right?
Yeah, I do that on the third lap.
You have a backup strat with the rail on the lower path, which you will show off on the third lap.
Yeah. I missed going to the upper path on the third lap, which I think is oh so slightly faster if it's not even the exact same time. But you can press a specific button. I don't know what the GameCube button is. I have it mapped to the left bumper on my controller to boost on the rail and expend air instead of gaining it, but you drastically speed up, and that makes the bottom path just as fast as the top path. And honestly, if you had Grinder, which makes you grind faster in this mod, if you're already speed type, that might make the lower path actually faster. I'm not sure on that, but it's probably close. drift chaining around these corners is so nice. I have to pump going around that hairpin because if I hold the drift, I feel like I go too wide. So I tap the drift to go inside and change my turning angle slightly and then drift again.
So, as we go into Green Cave...
Green Cave is my favorite track.
I kind of took the easy path with access, which allows any character to fly, just so that I can take this path right here and get the ring bubbles, which, of course, I miss.
You can just jump onto the vine. Like
I tried. I honestly tried. I couldn't get enough. My air management was bad enough, apparently, that I could not. Whatever gear I was trying to use, I could not get up there. I just didn't have enough speed. Yeah.
Because I was gonna say you can jump even when you're running.
That's weird. I tried to do it in my warm-ups. I just couldn't do it. So it's like, well, I'll just use access then. I think I was maybe using Super Hang-On, which I did use in this run. But I mean, just taking that fly shortcut is still pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's an easy choice. It's pretty quick.
I think. I haven't actually tested this, but I think it's actually faster to drop out of the fly shortcut halfway through on the vine that runs across. I think that's faster.
You mean don't hit the rings, just go straight for that vine that goes sideways?
No, you can drop out of the rings onto the vine.
Are you sure?
Yep.
You're sure?
Yep, I've done it. I did it in warm-ups, dude.
Okay, because those things pull you super fast.
Yeah, I know. You can tap the jump button to fall out of a fly shortcut.
Really?
Yep.
Now you don't.
As long as you don't hit another fly ring. So I'm right on the tail of my warm-up time, which was pretty solid as well. What I realized, the reason I switched to Metal Sonic from Jet, I had other gears mapped out as Jet other than fastest, but I realized just before we started that Metal Sonic actually gets faster speeds on fastest. He gets a faster super cruise. He's like, oh, I'll make use of that. So the tracks that I already was going to use fastest on anyway, like White Cave, which this is probably my best track that I did in our...
This was definitely not... It wasn't my worst. That worst is still coming. But it wasn't my... It was not a good track. I didn't get level 3 until the 3rd lap, which is kind of a problem. Also, I made a mistake. I started my practice runs with Speed Balancer, which was fine, but I ended up switching to High Booster, and it was slightly better and a little bit easier to handle because it just turns a bit better. And I forgot to update my spreadsheet I was using to keep track of what gears I was going to use in the race. So I ended up using Speed Balancer instead.
Well, at least you know you're going to set a solid time, assuming you hit your lines.
Yeah, except I missed rings on the first lap.
Hitting lines with Speed Balancer is always an issue.
Yeah.
It turns so slowly.
And then I missed rings there as well. In the middle of this run, in these tracks, I was just having an absolutely terrible time with my item bubbles. I eventually turned it back around and started being okay with item bubbles, but...
After all that time I lost in Egg Factory, I've made it all back up.
You didn't lose that much time in Egg Factory.
Well, I think we were split and then it was like 3 seconds difference. So
3 seconds is not much. I mean, you and I are basically at the same point. Look at the time splits at the top of the different screens. You're literally 6 seconds faster than me in this one track alone.
Mm-hmm. No, I love this track, especially with the combination of fastest. It just feels so smooth to play. White Cave, not as good as Green Cave, but I do love both of the Forest Cave tracks. Just a lot of fun.
Ah, yes, Sand Ruins. So
I knew I was not going to beat him on this track going into it because he practices this so much.
I actually love this track. I did not go for ramp skip at all.
I did, and I got it, but I didn't.
What killed me was, again, item bubbles. In my practice runs with Super Hang-On, so the niche for Super Hang-On, for those that aren't aware, is that it's a super powerful gear that actually has 4 levels. When you get to 90 rings, you hit level 4. And I finished the first lap with like 86 rings, I think, so I was doing really good in that category. But it doesn't get air from tricks, really, at all. And it doesn't really get a lot of air much at all either from your shortcuts, your type shortcuts, which means you're down to air bubbles and pitting, which it does pit really fast, but you still have to stop and refill in a pit. I hadn't figured out that I could go through this entire track without pitting, which is huge for this gear, except I missed my air bubbles on both the second and third laps, which absolutely killed me because it's a 100 air bubble. That's half an air tank.
And so even though I ended up so far behind because I missed ramp skip on the first lap,
I completely sell on the third lap here.
So
I got that holds me over. And go off the ramp. For some reason I went for X, just trying to get as much air as possible, though it didn't get me anything. It's like, alright, I can still bail it out with this air bubble, right? Well, shoot. Well, I'll get a little bit of air from this one. Nope. Now I need to pit. Where are the pits?
There are no pits.
There are no pits. And at this point, I was panicking.
I've made up all that time that I lost, and I just passed him.
Literally all the time. And then I make up that, like, half a second again because I'm a power back and cut the corner. So yeah, completely and utterly sold on the third lap.
And it's neck and neck going into Dark Desert.
This was a really interesting one when we watched it back because we both had about the same time, but for different reasons. I would always pull ahead because did you use powerful gear?
Mm-hmm.
So I was just faster through this opening. Of course, missing rings again, but at least you did too.
Yeah.
And then yours is faster through here.
Yeah.
Because the speed shortcut is just faster. You don't have to go off the ramps. And you hold your speed coming off.
And I know
that's
how
what
to
it is.
boost chain off of the rail and into the stick.
So
segment.
you're like a solid half a second ahead? And then you take that path.
Which is slower than the default path.
And then I can cut the corner with that power shortcut, and now I'm half a second ahead. And then we repeat all 3 laps. It's the same thing every lap.
Yep. Sorry for the spoilers, but it's dumb. Because I figured out at the end of the second lap, oh, this shortcut is slower than just going down the street normally. And I did it anyway on the third lap. I was just so set in my ways, like that's how I had practiced it. I didn't even think about it. And then I messed up my boost chain in there. Jump cancel boost chain, or jump charge boost chain. And I went off the rails again. And the real problem is this corner here. You see, the rail sends you off so far, it's hard to turn that corner real tight. I could fast fall it, but I didn't want it to do that because I thought I might need the air. I probably could have burnt the air looking back at this recording now. Because I pretty much had a full tank after that X easy.
Of course I get the ring bubble on the third lap when I don't need it.
Yet again, I'm ahead. I was trying to get extra speed off of that rail by boosting right at the end of it so I could boost chain off of it, but I burnt just a little too much air and I wasn't able to boost when I got off the rail. And there's that corner being problematic again. Now, you actually messed up your skip here, didn't you?
Yes, but it worked in my favor because I could take the shortcut. That did happen to me in my practice runs. I don't purposefully do that like that, but it worked out. And you and I are both using darkness here just to help with air management.
Rings and air are so hard to come by on this track. You could say that makes it a really difficult track. I don't know that that is the real issue with this track, because if you just pick a gear that gets by fine on low rings or low air, you're fine.
I will say speed is definitely a better type, at least for me, in this track, just because of skipping that last hairpin there with a rail, because you get air out of it, and it's faster too. It's just better all the way around.
And speed takes the power shortcut here because it's the fastest route. So even though I'm not power, I just bonk. And
Power doesn't really have an advantage. It doesn't have an advantage at all in this track. Speed definitely has an advantage. You could use probably a less air... I'm pretty sure I have in the past used a less air-efficient gear because of the rail.
Well, and if you're resetting constantly to make sure you get perfect ring lines and perfect levels and stuff like that, the air is probably a lot less of an issue at that point as well. I forgot to boost chain over that. I'm such an idiot. I knew what had happened as soon as Jet passed me. I was like, oh, I forgot to boost chain that. I'm so dumb. The boost chaining, once you learn how to do it, is so easy. You never miss it. You can be more efficient with it, but you don't really miss it.
Every once in a while, I'll miss it because it's a super quick input, just the tiniest little drift, and I will boost and then drift.
I don't have that problem. But I think my drifts are longer than yours to make sure that I get
mine are super, super small, and it rarely happens to me. So, weird thing about this, you fell off, and then I fell off.
I fell off going into the turbulence, though.
Yeah, I fell off, and I'm pretty sure mine cost me a little bit more time, though neither of them was really atrocious. I mean, any more atrocious than falling off can be in the first place.
I didn't plan on taking the power shortcut here, but I don't think I had a choice given what the game gave me on that. And you can fast fall here to make sure you get the bubbles. See, it's really important for my setup.
You did the fast fall. Other than the first lap, because I forgot the first lap, I just do backflips, and it puts you behind the ring bubbles.
I feel like you carry more speed if you front flip, but fast fall. You do burn more air, though. Of course, you're supposed to level up. And then on the third lap, it didn't even matter to me because I was already level 3.
Right. Those are guaranteed ring bubbles.
By the way, I never told you this. This rail, you can clip onto it right here. As you can drift the wrong way off the hairpin and clip onto the rail.
Seriously?
Yes. It's considered a really hard skip, but it can be done, and I'm pretty sure it's the fastest way to clear this track.
One thing that really bugged me about this track was this shortcut right here. The power shortcut. Like, it's fine, but on the third lap, something really, really dumb happens.
Well, I gotta watch your screen now, because I don't think you pointed this out to me when we rewatched the footage.
I don't know about you, but I've just been staring at my screen even though I know what happens.
I mostly stare at my screen just so I can remind myself of what I'm doing and point out things that I think are cool that I'm doing. Which is hard for me, because everything that I do sucks, in my own opinion.
So, the big part of my run is drifting and getting the air there, and I got that, so I did another boost chain, and then bonked on the far end of the entrance, and had to boost again.
What?
Yeah. It happened to me once in warm-ups, and it bugged me. It didn't end up really costing me anything, but it just bugged me that it happened to me during the run.
I didn't have as I go into Digital Dimension now, starting Digital Dimension, I didn't have a bad Digital Dimension, I just was inefficient. I missed a ton of rings. The ring lines in this track are really hard.
No comment.
No comment? You missed them too, right?
Yes. Plus other things. By the way, that first statue there, on the lower path, holds a speed shoe.
Oh, really?
Right in the middle of it. I only ever hit it once in my warm-ups. Only once. Also, you're an entire section of the track ahead of me at this point.
Well, the nice thing about this gear is...
And then I have this.
I can go a decent clip, even when I'm a lower level.
I am so mad at myself right now. In the run. I am so mad at myself for doing that. I knew that I was done at that point. Or at least felt like I was done at that point.
Did I miss the wall bonk?
Yes, wall bonk was first lap.
It was funny to watch, though.
For you? I was so furious with myself for bonking like that, and I'm still not a level 3. I'm out of air. I know, looking at this now, I can see how far ahead you are, and it's like, if I knew exactly how far ahead
you were faster
at the time,
through the menu. We were doing this side by side in the same room, and he was faster through the menus, so it looked a lot closer than it was.
tell me
At
that
this
he was
point.
going to cut out load times in the middle. So I'm sitting here thinking I need to go through the menus as fast as possible. And then he cuts it all out, and it's like, well, so much for that. And then, of course, I see, instead of getting the X that I really needed there for the air, and we're running again.
You do make some of that time up, though.
Oh, yeah. I totally make some time up. You are legit, like, 20, 30 seconds ahead of me at this
You
point.
had a better bevel on Guardian than I did, because I made a dumb mistake.
It wasn't that much better.
You didn't make up all that time, but you did make up a couple seconds, because I think it happens on the second lap. I tried to string an extra boost out of this thing, and if you did it super efficiently, it probably would save some time. But I did not do it efficiently at all. It's something I didn't even practice. I was just like, I bet I can do the thing.
Also, you barely got the hit on the first lap.
You don't have to hit him to count laps in the mod.
Okay. I didn't know that was a thing, but mine worked out that way anyways.
I'm trying to charge rings for the boost, like a moron.
So you started like 22, 23 seconds ahead of me. I'm curious to see how much of a difference there is in time when you finish.
I don't know.
Because that shouldn't have cost you too much.
I decided drifting was a far better use of my rings to gain speed than just trying to charge for a big boost. I didn't actually look up. I'm sure that spreadsheet I found online does say just how much more speed Metal Sonic gets out of this. I missed my only L cancel right there. It's the only one I attempt in the entire run. You know why I missed it? I missed the left trigger. I didn't even properly attempt an L cancel because I missed the trigger to perform the action. That's like going to jump in a Sonic game and accidentally pushing Y.
That only cost you like 2 seconds. I will say, Sega Carnival, you had a really, really good run.
I thought they had a good run. You had a better run.
It's this section that you're in right here with those platforms. I'm still level 1 at this point because I'm on Crazy Taxi. So the boost gets longer. That's the only thing I gain. It's this right here. I figured this out in my warm-ups. I'm doing 300 all the way across this and getting my drift boosts and charging rings at the same time. It's perfect. This gear works really good for this track.
Go figure, the Sega themed gear works really well on the Sega themed track.
I wonder why. Technically, isn't it all Sega themed?
And we're being specific. Okay. English.
English, it's a difficult language. So I am really happy with my performance on this track.
You have to have made up some pretty decent. I didn't look at the
You would have been about, I think I counted 17 seconds ahead. Like you were 20 seconds ahead going into 23 seconds ahead going into Battle on Guardian. And then it wasn't an exact count, but it was like 17 seconds.
You're also L canceling that end of lap.
And getting an S that I'm boost chaining.
And that's an L cancel.
I was nailing my L cancels on this track too. I was after my goof, I definitely am behind now. I didn't know for sure at the time, but I figured I was. So I was just going as fast as possible, and everything was falling.
Let's see. I'm 202 off the last ramp. Let's see where you're at. Because I was 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Your finish time was 2 minutes 9. Let's see where I'm at when I cross the finish.
You're 4 seconds faster than me so far. As I'm bonking and flailing over here.
I saved 4 seconds in that track alone. Which on the spreadsheet, 3 lap time trials is a huge amount of time. But I'm still, you know, you look at the splits at the top of the screen, I'm still like 14, 15 seconds behind, 14 seconds behind.
So here's the interesting thing. I'm gonna fall off here on the second track, and he's gonna make up even more time. But looking at this race between us, would you guess which one of us is better at speedrun times? It's him, because I get so distracted. I like throw together a halfway decent time before he gets a hold of the spreadsheet and be like, okay, this looks like a decent time, and then move on to the next track, and the next track, and the next track. Just put up a time, and there you go. Into the void. And then he goes through and he grinds out one track for 3 hours.
It's my mentality. I don't want to leave it half done.
And then, so when I get done with the spreadsheet and we start cloud sharing it, and he's putting up times too, now the only track I can go back and fight is the first 1 or 2 tracks in the game, and he's got these really refined, clutched out times that it's like I have to spend hours and hours and experiment with gears and stuff trying to beat his times.
And then he does, and then before I go and beat his other halfway decent times,
he goes back.
I go back and beat his times.
It's so irritating.
And then after like a week of this going back and forth, I own more than half the board.
Because I gave up.
And he can't beat my times. I am neck and neck with my practice time. I just passed it, actually. Still, it's obvious. We're going into the third lap. I'm a solid 10 seconds at least behind. I think it's obvious who wins at this point.
Yeah. It was a really close race. And by the way, it was a photo. That's how much time he saved in the menus. It was literally like, I'm done. I look over, he's done. In terms of...
Yeah, it was legit a photo finish when we were recording this live, side by side. But there it is. After a little over 30 minutes, we've raced through every track in the game, and he is the winner.
I don't think we've done 2 of these before this point, so... And I think... Did I win both of them? It was years ago.
I
don't
can't remember. You'd have to go back and look it up. I cannot remember.
But anyways, this is us speedrunning Sonic Riders TE. It's a lot of fun. If we do it again, we'll probably be playing at the same time, doing every track with Babylon Guardian, but that's all we're going to do for today's video. This is a YouTube video. Do all the YouTube video things. Thank you for watching, and have a good day. We'll see you next time.
Hey, and give Sonic Riders TE a look, you know, if you like Sonic Riders. It's definitely worth looking into. It's definitely an improvement on the original, at least in my opinion. So with that being said, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.